So, Mike, when I think of Mike Lucariello, I do think of boxing.
Yep.
As a promoter extraordinaire and a boxer. You did it all. And was there an aha moment where you said, perhaps I'd like to get into this world? Did you watch it on TV?
Yeah, there's a couple things happened. I was playing at JCC for George Batitis. He walked by me and he says, if I had arms like that, he says, I'd be back in the ring.
Yeah.
I thought, maybe I should go to fight in the ring, you know? I was like 22 at the time. So that started me on the path. And I was watching a fight in Buffalo between George Chuvalo, the Canadian champ, and he was beating a guy from Buffalo. And I thought, man, I'm going to call up that number and tell him that I'd like to get into boxing. So I called them up and they said, come on up. So I got up and I met with some professional boxers. One of the guys' name was Pat Simpson. And he had 60 professional fights that literally killed a man in the ring. But they taught me a lot about boxing. And I also trained with a young man who was a runner-up AAU champ for the United States in the light heavyweight division. And I saw him box in Erie on the same card that Roberto Duran fought Bizarro in Erie. So that was pretty neat. I mean, I kept going up there on weekends and during the week on my motorcycle. And they wanted me. Go ahead.
Say in the early days, how old are you, Mike?
Right now, 78.
78. Okay, so you remember the Friday night fights and the Saturday night
sure.
fights? Sure,
late 50s and the middle 50s, right?
Yeah, Gillette.
Oh yeah, Gillette Blue Blades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was one of those guys like you who would watch, and I'd actually have a clipboard.
Yeah.
And I would keep track of. I scored the rounds.
No kidding.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I understand how one could get caught up in that. And did your dad, was he involved?
My
in
dad was a
athletics?
real strong man. I mean, he had 22-inch arms. He was powerful. And he never really got into a lot of sports because he came over from Italy. Actually, he was born here but went back to Italy when he was a year old, came back when he was 7. So, I mean, he never got into boxing, but his brother, Samuel, the younger brother, played football at Bemis and got a scholarship to Notre Dame. But the war came. He had to get into World War II in the army. He was on the crew that marched into Berlin when Hitler was defeated. And he was kind of a hero. I mean, he was a great guy. But he actually went back and played football for Notre Dame. He wasn't really a starter, but he was on the team. And he when he graduated from college, he settled in Dallas-Fort Worth area and had a successful insurance career. Of course, I got into insurance too.
Sure. So anyways, here we are fast forwarding after you watched boxing on TV and the Gillette Blue Blades. And knowing here's what I remember, Randy, when the boxing would end early, you don't know, it was not pre-cast,
right.
It was live.
Right.
It was live, and it was scheduled maybe for 10, 15 rounds, and if the guy got knocked out in the 4th round, they might add another fight, a 4-rounder, or they would go to bowling. You remember bowling for dollars?
Yeah, I do. I used to like to watch bowling.
They would fill in until 11 o'clock, so they would, the fight would start, and then, anyways. It
was cool.
Things that you remember.
Yeah,
So,
they were wonderful days.
So, you're age 22, somebody suggests that you should start boxing, and you do it.
Yeah, I did it. I kind of have the theory of, if you're going to do something, do it big. Don't just dabble at it. Go at it full force. Now, I had aspirations of, people told me I had a boxer's build, and so I wanted to pursue that avenue. So like I say, I went to boxing and learned how to box, and they had me in a fight at the Memorial Auditorium, and I fought this young man who happened to be outclassed me because he had been training for years. And my manager says, "Who are you fighting?" I says, "Randy Jelks." "Oh no, I taught him to box 2 years ago." I'm like, "Well, thanks a lot for all the positive hype, I'm like, Anyway, I came in and first round, he says, your shoe's untied. I felt for the oldest gag in the book. I bent down and looked, and he clubbed me.
Oh my God.
I said, man, this guy's pretty rough. Anyway, first round, he did a dance on me. Bloodied my nose. I was bleeding all over the ring. Tom Stenhouse was the referee. And he says, do you want me to call the fight? I said, no! I went in his face. Because he let it go on, they plugged up the blood and so forth. But anyway, that got my blood ticking. So I had to get my motor going. And so I was in good shape. I was in excellent shape. I was been running, doing all my road work, all my exercises. And pretty soon I said, I'm going to let it all hang out. So I let it go. Block, I must have thrown 100 punches at him. After that, all he did was run the rest of the fight. And I was trying to catch him the whole time and get him, but I didn't quite able. I hit him some, and the crowd would roar. We had like a crowd of like 5,500 people up there at the time.
Wow.
And so it was an exciting fight. And afterwards, when they just called him the winner, I was dejected. I started walking out of the ring. There's three little boys that sitting there. They go, oh, don't look down. You were good. You were good. I'm like, that was kind of a pick me up. So anyway, my opponent came up to me and he says, man, he says, I thought you were going to knock me out. He said, all I could see is the floor coming up at me. And those are the moments that you remember.
Sure.
Those things are. And then he became the outstanding fighter of the entire tournament. So, I mean, I'd been beat, but I got beat by a very good opponent.
During that time, did you have the Golden Gloves? Was that?
That was Golden Gloves. Yep, I was fighting in that. Yep.
Okay, so Buffalo had quite a reputation for.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I used to go to Buffalo, and I met with all the different arenas where people were training fighters and so forth. And I figured, man, I could do this in Jamestown. So that's set me on the road to starting the Jamestown Boxing Club.
Where did you have it? Where was it located?
I had it on 2nd Street under the Jamestown Rubber Stamp Company in the 2nd floor down there, in the alley. So people came down there and boxed, and Gary Lind was helped me get it set up.
Okay.
And he was instrumental in the plumbing works anyway. And so we set up a ring and had people come in. I had people coming in from the Job Corps.
Right.
And I went and picked them up, brought them down. And people were coming in. I had a couple of city championships, so I had quite a number of people involved. And so we had some very good sparring episodes. People were coming in all the time. They wanted to try me out because they heard that I was pretty good. So they wanted to see what they could do. And fortunately, I was on my game, and I was kind of a scientific fighter. I could pick their flaws, work their flaws, and then go at them. And I had a number of different styles I could approach. I learned a lot from Muhammad Ali, watching him fight. And I had met Muhammad Ali 3 different times. I met Jack Dempsey, and I met Joe Louis in Las Vegas. It was when I met those people, it's like you were standing with greatness. You could feel it, because these guys were top notch. And it was kind of a wonderful feeling for me, because boxing was my life at that time.
Were you surprised how big Ali was?
Yeah, I was. I mean, he was a presence of a man. And I saw him at Buffalo State twice. And of course, he put on a show. This was during the years when he was in his exile. And it was kind of sad that they took him out of the picture when he was at his peak.
Right.
Yeah, but he's a great man, very pleasant man.
And Jack Dempsey had the steakhouse. Yeah,
in Times Square, and that was I was meandering, walking around Times Square, looking at all the lights. I was only like 18 at that time, but I was kind of starstruck. And I'm walking around, looking at the lights, looking up like this all the time. And I saw Jack Dempsey Steakhouse. I said, wow, I'll go down there. I got to see that guy. Because boxing was in my blood. And So when I saw something that was boxing, off I went. So anyway, I went down there, and here he was, came out. I was sitting on the, like outside with tables and chairs and so on. He came over to me, and I stood up and shook his hand. He had a great big hand. I mean, it just seemed to envelop mine. I got a pretty good sized hand.
Yeah, you do.
It helps when you're boxing to have a big hand, heavy hand anyway. But anyway, he seemed to be a very polished guy. It was a pleasure meeting him.
And Lewis, he was in Vegas at the time?
He was in Vegas, yeah. He was a greeter at Caesar's Palace.
Okay.
And Caesar's Palace was obviously a big gambling casino. And it was kind of sad to see him as a greeter, because he had kind of fallen on some hard times, which happens to a lot of people at different times in their life. But I spoke, briefly with him and told him I was, boxing, did most of the boxing in Jamestown. He brightened up, and he seemed to. He looked a little dejected, but he was all there with his marbles. He was not punch drunk or anything like that. He was on top of things.
Well, he was here at the Sports Hall of Fame. He was at the Temple Hesed Abraham sports dinner.
Back in 1960?
Well, before that.
Before that, okay.
Yeah. So he was here one time. As were other heavyweight champions like Marciano,
yeah, I remember
Charles,
that. Yeah.
And Archie Moore was here.
Oh, yeah.
Other people like that.
Yeah, so I got the ring from the Kiwanis Club, and allegedly Archie Moore fought in that ring.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, small world.
Yep.
So in the Jamestown Club itself, were you incorporated?
Yeah, I incorporated the club in Albany as a nonprofit organization. And I changed the name later on to Chautauqua Boxing Club, and it's still active as a nonprofit corporation. So that, I tried to follow all the rules that were.
So aside from having the club itself, which was a training facility,
right.
But you also promoted.
I promoted, yes, I enjoyed promoting. That was kind of like a Don King thing. Yes, I had several promotions at Jamestown Community College. In their nicer big arena, they had like seating capacity for like 2,500 people, which I filled up a couple of times. Wow. And then other times I had a city championship, and we had a good crowd there too. I had like 3 different city championships that I held, and we got 30, 40 boxers in each time. It was kind of unique. I mean, I enjoyed meeting all the different aspirants and all the different candidates. Some of them were very good. I had a couple of ones that really could have gone somewhere. I should have promoted them more than I had, or more than I did.
Like who? Name a couple names.
A couple names. Timothy Keeler. Now, his first fight, I took him out to Erie, and there was a kid out there that had 22 fights. After this fight, he was turning pro. He won all his fights. They were fighting middleweight. So I said, Tim, you're as tough as anybody. I mean, Tim could hit like a heavyweight. He was 160 pounds, but he hit hard. And he had the ring generalmanship, and he could move around the ring. He could hit hard. He had some smarts. So anyway, he fought this young man, and you would have thought that he would have been outclassed because of experience. But Tim was a street fighter, and after he got punched a couple of times, he went after the guy like a rabid dog, and backed him up, and then the guy put on another front. Then finally, in the first round, Tim went at him, got him on the ropes, and just bam, 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 and then the ref called it.
Really?
Yeah, won the fight. And they thought I brought in a ringer. They thought I brought in a professional. I said, no, it's his first fight. His first fight.
Wow.
Then he won the next 10 fights in the first round. He was that good. I should have took him further. But then he got into a few, drugs and alcohol, and which was kind of sad to see.
Yep.
But it happens, I guess.
Did you have other people who were?
Yeah, I had gotten Nefali De Jesus from Dunkirk. Now, he was a big 230, guy, 6'2", big guy, and a real boisterous, strong-minded guy. I mean, he was known for being kind of a terror up in Dunkirk. I mean, there was a baseball referee that tried to throw him out of a game. He says, "You're out of the game." He says, "No, you're out of the game." Bam! And the guy's begging him to stop, you know. But he got thrown out of the league. I mean, but he did have an incredible boxing skill, just because he was big and strong. Now we went up to Maston Armory, and Maston in Buffalo, and we were fighting Ronnie East, who was 2-time New York State champ. Yeah. I'm gonna get rid of this phone. So anyway, I said to him, "Look, you got to go out the first 2 rounds, give them all you got. The 3rd round, clutch. If you win the first 2 rounds, you won the fight." And he did exactly what I told him to do. You know, they had so many fights, they shortened the rounds to 1 minute. So that helped us. Now the other guys thought that we were going to lose. They said they wanted to bet me $100. I'll say I'll take that bet. They went back to him in his corner and said, you know, Lucariello's on. Well, I shouldn't bet on sports activities. I know that, but it was not with the fighter. It was with one of his handlers. He never paid me anyway. But anyway, we won the fight because he did exactly what I said. And they came back to me. They go, "Do you know who you beat?" I said, "I know what we beat." He goes, "How many fights has their guy had?" I said, "This is his first fight."
Oh my gosh.
And they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. And I could have pushed him further too, which I really should have. But those are things that you got so many things happening. Sometimes you don't have time to do these kind of things.
Could your promotions normally, were they weekly, monthly, or just periodic?
Periodically, like at one time we went to the Kennel Club, which was up by Greenhurst there.
Yeah.
And we had a nice, really summertime festival. We had clams, we had hot dogs, beer. You know, the ring was set up on the grass there. People came in on boats. We had 1,000, 1,200 people there. Wow. And it was really a nice event. And we had some great fights. We had fighters coming in from Niagara Falls and Erie and Rochester, Buffalo. It was quite a grand event. And so that was kind of a feather in our cap.
Was it hard to make? I mean, you got your guy who's good, but you got to have somebody you matched up against who's competitive. Yeah,
sometimes it was difficult. Sometimes the only guy available was the guy that maybe was a little more or too much experience. So you had to take a leap of faith and say, well, I think my guy can do it. And you had to pump him up to make sure he could do it. So it was always tricky, that sort of thing. It was never even Steven. I mean, one was always had better qualities than the other guy. But that's what boxing's all about, is, hey, it's the roll of the dice. You never know what's going to happen.
Was there local support for your club, or
yeah,
were there individuals who supported it?
Yes, there were. I initially started with the Kiwanis Club, and I was a member of the Kiwanis Club, and Tony Miliato was helpful. Sure. And there was other members of the club, Joey Urso, and there was Purpura, and then there was some, who was it, Phil Camerata. He was a former boxer. He'd boxed.
Phil Camerata?
Yeah, Philip Camerata. He boxed with when Jimmy Clark was boxing back in the 30s and 40s. And he was helpful, and all those old timers were helpful. I've got pictures of those guys doing as the judges and bell ringers and so forth.
Was Billy Collins part of your world?
It wasn't not until the end. He wanted me to do something. He kept after me to get involved in a boxing club with him, but I was kind of on my way out at that time, and I wasn't able to meet his expectations. Mm-hmm. And I kind of felt bad about it, but I was doing a fair amount of states at that time. We were putting in condos over there, 36 condos. And I was just so much involved in other business activities that I really couldn't take the time out to do what he wanted me to do.
Did Billy sort of pick up where you left off?
He, to some extent, but I didn't see him doing awfully much.
Yeah.
He didn't. Chip Swanson picked up.
Chip, okay.
Chip picks up quite a bit. He's still training guys over at the YMCA.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah.
Did you do promotions up at Floral Hall?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I did. In fact, I got my brother on the card on that one. My brother Sam. Yes, we had a nice situation up there. It was a lot of fun. We had the guy that has Moonlight Electricity.
Yeah.
He was good. Brad Swanson was quite good. He was a tough guy. Dave Matthews was.
Dave Matthews.
Yeah, Dave Matthews helps a lot. We were good buddies and we played basketball together quite a bit. But Dave was kind of an all-around guy, and we won the city championship in basketball at the YMCA one year. He did it around the back deal and a layup to win the game. But anyway, Dave and I put on an exhibition for the Kiwanis Club in Lakewood, and Chip Swanson and I did one and the Kiwanis Club in Jamestown. I remember Errol Green, you remember him, right? He came up to me and goes, "Wow," he says, "that was just like seeing a real fight." I said, "It was a real fight." It's because when we put on those exhibitions, we let it all hang out. We didn't just mess around. The one fight I had in Jamestown with Bob Grzulowicz, he was a fireman, and Fred Dunn was a policeman, and we were good friends. And so we started that police boxing club for a while. But Bob Grzulowicz, he was going to fight me at JCC. He comes up to me and he goes, "I'm not really in very good shape." He says, "I hope you take it easy on me." I'm like, "Bob, this is supposed to be a real fight. People are going to boo us out of the place if I pity-patty around." So I tried to take it easy and people started booing. And I go, bam! I gave him a solar plexus punch. Ref called it right there. Out. So I considered it a knockout because solar plexus punch is a knockout punch. Yeah, if you get hit there in the right spot, it'll take you out. But yeah, I've had some wonderful times boxing. One outstanding fight that I had was with a guy from Clymer. His name was Sean Check. Now, Sean Check was 6'5". He was a left-hander. He had won like a dozen fights and he had a terrific jab. This guy had a right-hand jab, and he got me several times, and then he absolutely knocked me down like 3 times. But I never felt those punches. I would drop, and then I'd bounce right back up like a jack-in-the-box. And I thought to myself, I have to do something. This guy's giving me a beating. I've got to do something to stop the flow of traffic. So I thought, a word came into my mind, slip the jab, and I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? I thought, you got to go over the jab as quick as you can, as soon as he throws it. So as soon as he threw the jab, I came over and threw an overhand right as hard as I could. Of course, now I'm shorter than he is. I'm like 5'11", he's 6'5". So there's a 6-inch difference. So with that overhand right, I got all my power into it, and I saw his knees wobble. Then I figured, when you get a guy, you got to go back to the same punch, because that's what his weakness is. So anyway, I threw another overhand right. Then his manager right there stopped the fight. Said, "My boy's got to fight Tuesday. I'm stopping this right now." I looked at him and said, "Your boy was about to get knocked out." And he didn't say a word. But that was just one fight. That wasn't actually a sanctioned fight, but it was a real fight. I mean, we were going all out.
What's up? How did the media treat you? Did you get the respect from the...
Yeah, Frank Hyde was an outstanding guy. He did like boxing, and of course, Frank was an old-timer, and he gave us wonderful press. I was ecstatic that he was helping us out the way he was. And we paid for some of the ads, closer to the fight. But Frank did a great job in promoting the sport of boxing. And it was very helpful to us. It gave us a lot of prominence and recognition that a lot of us deserved. And he was outstanding. I got nothing but good things to say about Frank. He'd tell me stories. We'd go back there and sit at his desk. He'd tell me different stories he had some incredible stories.
Well, he was an outstanding wrestler.
That's what I heard, yeah.
And he followed boxing very closely, and I know I had several conversations with him because I was following the history of boxing. I didn't do what you guys did.
Right.
I do remember you're promoting it at Floral Hall because I lived in Dunkirk in 1977, and Dave Matthews, Dave, right?
Right.
Dave.
Right.
I was a friend.
Yeah.
And he was boxing that night.
Yeah.
At there, and I took my wife, the only time she ever went to a boxing. and there was Dave, and Dave was very aggressive. It was clear, very aggressive boxer, but I'm not sure he had all the skills, but he was very aggressive.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Dave could be, and I remember he had a fight with Chip Swanson for the city championship, and Chip was winning the fight hands down right up until 10 seconds from the end. Dave unloaded with him with a left, right, caught him, bam, bam, dropped him. Ref called him out 10 seconds ago. I told Chip, stay away from him. You know he's got a wicked punch. But Chip didn't listen that time, and to his dismay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Funny, you brought back a memory. Because my wife never went to a wrestling or boxing match ever with that. Is there kind of a legacy of Mike Lucariello? When I think of you, I think of boxing and what you did in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Is there a legacy in all of
Well, in 2003 we had one at the Ice Arena too.
Ah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we unfortunately my son's brother got involved, and I made him sign a contract that I had the last word, but he insisted we had to charge $30 for ringside, 25 for the floor, and 20 for stands. I said, it's too much. You can't do that in Jamestown. It's got to be like 10, 12, 10, and 8. I said, you'll fill the place. But he didn't listen. He kind of messed up the whole arena, and we ended up only having like 6 or 7 fights. But we had some good fights. My son fought, he won. And my son got into boxing now. He's got his son into boxing. So the fight goes on. The beat goes on, yeah. Yeah, and hopefully his son is really he's only 8 years old. He's going to be 9 this month. And he's really interested. He's like 120 pounds already as a 4th grader.
So I'm looking at a Spectrum bag. Is there anything there that
we
know about?
There's a few things here I put together. Some of these things my apartment got broken into a year ago, and a lot of my stuff got distorted. But I got some clippings and things, and I'd like to share with you.
Sure, please do.
Should I bring them over?
No, just talk about them there.
Okay. I'll go through them and see what's what.
If it's any old girlfriends, then no need to talk about that.
No, right. No, that was when I was president of the insurance group, Independent Agents Association. This was a boxing program we put together at the Ice Arena.
Now, when you say the Ice Arena, was that Allen Park?
No, this was in this was at the one on
the Northwest Arena.
Yep.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and we didn't get that big of a crowd because, like I said, my son's brother, son's brother's 6'9", tries to be an overpowering entity, and he's just kind of a bull in his china shop. But anyway, we did have some nice promotions, and we had some good fights. And I had gotten like 20 guys signed up and got them their cards for USA Boxing. This is the one my picture in the paper where I had for a fight with Bob Grzulowicz, fireman.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Look at that.
Yeah.
Handsome dude.
Who? Bob? I was president of the Holy Name Society at that time.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun. But here's some of the old timers that were involved.
Who are you? Can you read the names?
Yeah, sure can. There was Dominic Scary. There was Joe Dolce, Art Anderson, heavyweight guy.
Yeah.
And Joey Urso.
Oh yeah, I remember a couple of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. I had other guys that involved at different times, but we tried to promote this thing as, in a nice way, as best we could.
Sure.
These are pictures of just Buddy Jackson was a pretty good fighter. Now, Burt Jackson was a good fighter too. Of course, Burt Jackson passed away, but Buddy had won like 10 fights, got into pot, and came to one event all high, got beat up. I mean, it's too bad that people who think drugs are the answer probably have forgotten the question.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Here's another one from Erie Boxers. It's Tom Duckett. Tom Duckett was a wrestler, an all-state wrestler from Jamestown, and he got into boxing. He was like 112 pounds, so he fought the bantamweights.
Yeah.
So he was a good little fighter. Here's Dave Matthews and Chip Swanson and Steve Sprague. Now, Steve Sprague could bench 300 pounds. He was a good fighter. He fought a guy from Buffalo and beat him. Quite a good fighter. So, but Dave was a class guy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he was a good fighter. His father had that Matthew and Miller's haberdashery.
Yep.
And here's a picture of us from Erie. We got our medals. We all got trophies when we won our fights.
Oh, that's terrific. Because you couldn't pay anybody. You were all amateurs, right?
Yeah, we were all amateurs. Yeah, we weren't supposed to. We didn't pay anybody. At my last fight, I got paid for fighting at Marshall Dillon's.
Marshall Dillon.
Yeah. We had a bunch of fights. I turned my ring over to Bob Todd, and he ran several promotions up there.
Oh my gosh, it's another thing I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Haglund and Dale Marshall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Dale was quite a guy. Yep. Some basketball clippings I had for when I was playing ball. Rematch of top heavies on the local card. Swanson Davis win at bottom Buffalo card. So I took Chip all over. Took him to Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, Niagara Falls. He liked boxing. He was into it pretty deeply. Another little colored photo of Friday night fights. Like I say, Frank Hyde was an angel for us.
Yep.
And this is Ron East. I think in this. Well, no, this one's Tom Duckett. Oh, yeah. Dave Matthews here, and Darryl Klaus. Now, Dave, on this fight, was kind of funny. A little anecdote. Darryl Klaus was an Indian guy. He was a good fighter from, I think it was Niagara Falls. We were fighting in Jamestown on the first card, second card. And Dave came out and did a starter step like Ali, flashed around, and the guy was like stunned. I go, Dave, hit him. But Dave kept calling around. Pretty soon the guy goes, what's with this guy? So then he started going at him. So Dave lost the fight because he messed around. But I had to try him on that several times. Don Reinhardt and I became friends.
Yes.
Yeah. And Don wanted me to promote him in wrestling. Yeah, so he wanted to pay me 20%. I went to New York City and got into the wrestling arena down there at Madison Square Garden. I met all the wrestlers down there. Excuse me for a second. But there was a little office there on 42nd Street that ran the wrestling. So I told him I had the world's strongest athlete that wanted to get into wrestling. So Gorilla Monsoon had a school, and I talked to him, and he says, yeah, bring him down, he'd be good. We could promote him real well. Don could have been big. But his wife said that's not the way they wanted to go. So they declined.
Yeah.
But it was nice going to, I remember meeting Ivan Putski.
Sure.
Remember Ivan? Yeah, Ivan was a funny guy. I was standing in line waiting to meet, I think it's Gorilla Monsoon. And he goes up behind in front of me and taps the guy on the shoulder. Then he sits back. Guy looks back. I'm like, wasn't me. They thought I was wanting to get into wrestling myself. I go, no, it's Ron Reinhardt. And then he goes up and taps him on the other shoulder. And steps back. And the guy turns around and looks at me like, what are you doing? Wasn't me. So anyway, I said, come on, Ivan. Tell this guy that it wasn't me. So anyway, that was kind of a funny moment.
That's good.
Yeah. Anyway, another picture of me at the YMCA with the boxing club. This was George Pearsall. He could bench press 600 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
He was strong as an ape, 300 pounds guy. And then there was Chip Swanson, myself, and Larry Davis. Now, Larry Davis was from Buffalo. Larry Davis was 165 pounds, but he was lanky, 6'2". He was like Tommy Hearns.
Yeah.
Now, he actually had gotten into boxing on a professional level, and he was a sparring partner for Marvin Hagler. And Marvin Hagler broke his jaw, and but Larry got credit for giving Marvin the souping him up to thinking that he could do it all, which he did.
You did, yeah.
So it worked out for everybody at that time. We had girls fighting in the ring.
No kidding.
Yeah, way back then, a couple of girls got in there and put on a pretty good show. And another picture of a couple of guys, Luis Vasquez and Jim Phillips. You know, they were younger guys, but they were pretty good. Here's Chip Swanson wins by KO. Another local card planned. And a couple other. Here's one of Ronnie East connects against Larry Davis.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah.
Now that was two good fighters. I mean,
yeah.
I sparred with Ronnie East up in Buffalo. He was he was a very talented guy. He won, like I said, New York State heavyweight championship twice. He was only about 190 pounds, but he could do it. And that was kind of nice. My brother Sam and Chip Swanson again on another card. I think that was the Florida Hall one.
My golly.
In Dunkirk, yep.
Yeah. Probably. I was there.
Yep. Yep. Sam, my brother Sam had one hell of a right hand. I was always younger, smaller. I always got beat up. That's what probably got me into boxing, because I was always getting beat up. I was always picking on bigger guys that would beat me up.
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
This has been unbelievable. I am so thrilled. Did you know at all Jimmy Clark? Did you know him?
Yeah. Jimmy Clark, I would often see him around town. And whenever I saw him crossing the street, he'd walk pretty slow.
Yeah.
I'd stop, and I remember when Ali was fighting in Zaire, and I asked Jimmy, I said, who do you like? He goes, I like Foreman.
No kidding.
Yeah. And of course Foreman had beat up, Smoking Joe, and beat up the other guy that Ali got beat by.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure for me too.
Well, great. I'm going to have to take a phone call in a few minutes, but I'll wrap it up. But I'll put this all up on YouTube, Mike. And, and does Randy have your contact information?
I think he does.
Yeah, make sure he has it, and
Email.
then make sure you get this, because
it's
fun for your family.
Sure, it will be.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. And I thank you very much for your knowledge and your integrity and the fact that you brought sports into a lot of people's lives.
Well, thank you, Mike. Because your world, I became part of it, but vicariously.
Yeah.
Watching people do it, not doing it.
Not doing it. Yeah, I had some other things. That I excelled in at a couple of times. And the one fight I had, maybe I should go for another couple of minutes. Fred Dunn wanted me to train him for the Police Olympics out in Rochester. These were all the policemen in New York State. And I said, sure. So I trained Fred, and then we went out to Rochester. And Fred was a light heavyweight. I was around 205, so I was a heavyweight. So anyway, we went out to there, and they were one guy short in the heavyweight division. They asked me if I would fight. I go, geez, I'm not really a policeman. Fred says, go under the name of Bill Lucas. He's a policeman. I said, okay. So I didn't really know what I was getting into, because I mean, these guys were guys that had been training and wanting to box and show what they could do. So I had to fight this guy from, I don't remember his name, but he was a transit cop down in New York City. He was like 215, heavily muscled. And I, first round, he was kind of beating the crap out of me. And I thought to myself, I have got to do something. I am not going back to Jamestown a loser. Fred won his fight, I've got to win mine. So I said, what am I going to do? So I said, I got to look for a weakness, I saw that when he would throw his right, he would drop his left, like a lot of guys do. So I said, when he throws that right, I'm coming over with an overhand right. And I think I hit this guy as hard as I ever hit anybody. You know, not on purpose, but hey, I was getting beat up bad. I had to do something. So anyway, I brought one up from behind me, which he couldn't see the punch coming. Then I threw the overhand right and hit him right on the butt. I actually closed my eyes before I hit him, just to get everything into it. And it hit him right on the chin. I opened my eyes, and his eyes were going in different directions. He was staggering around the ring, came back to my direction, got caught up in the ropes, defenseless. I'm looking at the referee, and the referee was so stunned, he didn't know what to do. So I looked at the ref, and I raised my fist like I was going to hit the guy again. He was defenseless. The ref jumps in, whoa, stop. I said, okay, give him an 8 count. So he goes over there and gives him an 8 count. By this time, it's like 30 seconds later, the guy had time to recover a little bit. So we continued the fight. He tried to do a comeback, but I hit him with another overhand right, not quite as hard. It was almost like him saying, okay, you got me. So anyway, I went at him and just threw 100 punches at him and to score points and end up winning the fight. So now I was supposed to fight this for this championship. Now this championship guy was a black guy, 6'4", big guy, 245 pounds. I thought, I better run from this guy for the first round, tire him out a little bit. So in the second round, I was continuing to run. Some guy from the audience said, this isn't a track meet. I said, do you want to change places with me? I shut him up. So anyway, I went back into the ring, and I did an Ali. Backed up to the ropes, 15 seconds left in the fight. The guy came at me, gave him a hard shot. Bell rang. So, I mean, I scored the only hard punch in the fight at that point. So the end of the second round came, and Fred came over to me and said, you got to lose the fight. What do you mean I got to lose the fight? He says, if you win the fight, we're going to get in trouble. You're not a policeman.
That's right. You're doing an alias. You're an alias.
I said, yeah, I know, but they knew that I wasn't Bill Lucas, I think. But anyway, I thought later on, second guessing myself, I thought I should have went in there and gave it all, because that was my plan. I said, come on, I got to lose the fight? I'm not throwing the fight. I've never thrown a fight. I just tell them I sprained my ankle and I can't come up for the third round. They said, okay. So I won the second place for the Police Olympics. Silver medal for the Police Olympics for New York State. I thought, not too bad.
And you're not even a policeman. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
That's a great story, Mike. Thank you. By the way, thank you so much. Thank you, Andy, for making that happen.
And so here's what's going to happen, Mike.
Yeah.
Greg's going to process this.
Sure.
He'll send it to me. I'm going to send it to you.
Okay.
And Greg will also put it out on YouTube.
Oh, wow. That's great.
The whole world.
That's terrific.
So if you lied, the whole world.
I didn't lie a bit. Everything I said was right on.
I'll make sure you get it, Mike.
Thank you very much, Brady.